right, welcome back to Slip Joint Display. Today we're looking at a Grady & Cutlery 71 Bullnose from the Farm and Field line. Also another 71 and a 21. These are all knives that are of related style. The Bullnose is knife number 715117. Let's get into these models. So the Grady & Cutlery Bullnose is from the Farm and Field line. Grady & Cutlery has different lines of knives. They've got Northfield, Titty-Ute, their GEC line, and the Farm and Field line. And the Farm and Field knives are in response to demand from customers who wanted a inexpensive, kind of no frills, really sturdy built work knife. And that's exactly what the Bullnose is. What you're talking about here is a drop point blade, linen micarta handles, very thick micarta, very stout back spring, handle flared at the bottom, space for a lanyard tube, nail nick. Yeah, this is definitely a heavy duty work knife, and that's the intent for it. Grady & Cutlery was trying to compete with China's pricing on these, and struggling with the way that they manufacture knives and the quality that they want with keeping the price low. I remember back in 2017, the price on these from retailers was around $50. They weren't expensive at all. As far as knives from the Farm and Field line are concerned, these are the style tubes they've got, and they've always got this orange signage here. This one being a 71 Bullnose. You see that there, but Farm and Field, made in USA, made by Grady & Cutlery, 1095 carbon steel. The Bullnose is, so Case has their model, the Sudbuster, and it's very close in style to a Bullnose. The Sudbuster from Case is an extremely popular model. But the knife has more history than that, the style of knife. Historically, it was also called a farmer's knife or a miner's knife. The knife has roots in traditional European peasant knives, and it gained popularity in the late 19th, early 20th century. The term Sudbuster from Case probably links back to the farmers of the Homestead Act having to deal with tough prairie for farming and all that. And in Spain, similar knives were known as pasture or shepherd's knives. As far as these from Grady & Cutlery, so this is a regular Bullnose. And GEC has put these out over time and used different handle materials. They've used Durlin, they've used different kinds of micarta. This is a natural canvas micarta. This is an SFO from Collector Knives that came out in 2022. So knife number 715222. So 71 for the model, 5 for the drop point blade, 2 because this also has a bottle opener on it, and 22 for the year. So there's your bottle opener and screwdriver. This knife isn't a Bullnose. This was put out as the Sudbuster. So we can see here 71 Sudbuster, and then the pin to go with it. Again, it was an SFO from Collector Knives. Interesting idea for them. I really dug the fact that it was the natural canvas micarta. I like that. I also dig the CK on there. That's not too over the top. The 21 in the mix, knife number 215119, is a BullBuster. So the reason I'm including this one in the review is that it's the same as the Bullnose. It's just a larger knife. Same thing, just a larger version of it. As you can see here on the Farm and Field tube, BullBuster instead of Bullnose. So, yeah, when Grady & Cutlery, like I said, they put out their Farm and Field line to put out a heavy-duty work knife. and they were trying to compete with low prices from other places. I read that when they originally started the line, they were going to call it the Redneck Farm Tool line, but there was something about copyright issues, so they changed it to the Farm and Field, which I think was probably a good idea. Like I said earlier, these knives, style-wise, date way back as far as their influence goes. Even European peasant knives. Now, slip joints for knives, you know, the slip joint was invented in the 1600s. So anything before that, what you're probably talking about is friction folders. And then in the mid-1600s, the slipping joints came out and kind of changed the game. But there's something really nice and simple about this style of knife. Yeah, I like the ergonomics of it. I like the drop point blade. It's really something different from Great Eastern Cutlery. The 2022 Sudbuster doesn't have as strong of action, although any bullnose that I've ever heard about has pretty stout action. So it's a pretty heavy pull. Something else about them is that they are very prone to blade wrap. So I've never had a 71 that didn't have it. I mean, it's there. I've got it on this somewhere. There it is. Don't have it on the BullBuster though. That's clean. This BullBuster's seen a lot of use. I mean, you can tell just from the micarta the amount of time this is spent in the hand. I remember I got the 71 first, and I waited and waited for the BullBusters to come back out. I wanted one of these so bad. And what was this, 2019? Yeah. So when this did come back out in 2019, I grabbed one, and I was all about it. They were later re-released, and I was looking at picking one up before I had to stop and realize, like, you already got one, man. This thing was pretty chewed up at that point. I had used this for yard work heavily, and in fact, this is the only knife, the only slip joint that's ever closed on me to half stop for me doing work with it outside. I think I was digging into the dirt with it, and it closed to half on me and stopped. I've never put a lanyard on these, but it would absolutely be appropriate. But that regular 71 Bullnose, I mean, like I said, they've come out in different kinds of, different materials on the handle, different kinds of micarta. Back in the day, GEC even released them at one point with 01 tool steel, and those are pretty highly sought after on the market. If you've got a 71 with 01 tool steel, that's kind of a big deal. And I think GEC just did it once and then just stopped. Let's have a look around real quick. So you're talking about a 2 3/4 cutting edge, 3-inch blade, 3 3/4 handle, maybe a little bit more. And then on the BullBuster, almost 3.5 cutting, a little bit less, and about 3 3/4 total blade length. And then on the handle, 4.5. Just a hair from being flush at half. Just a bit. This 71 is flush at half. 100%. Let's look here. It's flush at half. In fact, it's a little bit indented. Like I said, always really good action on these. Yeah, same thing with the bottle opener. Dents in a little bit It's at half stop. This guy has monster action. These are pinchable, and I'm glad that they are, because the pull on this is a little bit ridiculous. I have oiled the pivot many times. This has seen a lot of use and a lot of sharpenings. The blade wrap on this kind of drove me crazy when I first found it. This was my first time having blade wrap, and I put an edge on this that was perfect, and then found the blade wrap, and I was kind of heartbroken. Let's see how we look for gaps here. Nothing. Not a thing. Little bit of light coming through there. Not much. And then I'm not seeing anything on here, just solid. I tend to make these work knives. After I found the blade wrap on this, you know, I didn't really carry it as much, but I kept it around as a kind of a bench knife, just something around the sharpening table. If there was anything I needed to cut where I was being rough with it, this is what I would grab. The thickness, this is interesting. So I wanted to compare the thickness of these two models, because there's an extra tool on this one. They're about the same. Actually, the 2017 Bullnose is actually thicker. You can see the difference in the thickness of the micarta. I don't know if they just have a standard thickness they want to go for, so they thin this one out, or if it's because this is linen micarta and this is canvas. I don't remember reading anything about linen micarta being significantly stronger than canvas. So I don't think that, or canvas being stronger than linen, I don't think that they needed to use more micarta on this one. I think it's probably just a matter of they want a certain amount of knife in hand. I mean, when you hold this, the handle is substantial. It feels like you could do work with this. It's not some tiny little thin handle. I mean, really, this looks fairly normal, but if you look at this, even these are about the same, thickness-wise. I don't know. Maybe it's the case that they just want to meet a certain standard of thickness for the knife in hand for doing work. These all have cut swedges on them. Yeah. I like that flare. I really dig that. I remember years ago watching YouTube videos of these models, and just the way that the butt of the knife flares like that used to drive me crazy. I loved it. Yeah, these have a lot of use on them. I'm interested to see the next time GEC puts out the 71s. I think I'm going to have to pick one up. And the action on this Sudbuster is significantly less than this Bullnose. I don't know if they're still making the Bullnoses with this kind of action. This is the only one, I mean, the only Bullnose is this Sudbuster. This is the only Bullnose I've ever had. So I don't know if they're all like that or if I just got one that was really, really stout in that department. I like that little spot for a finger there. I really dig all that. I'd like to get one of these in a plain micarta like this, but without the extra tool. I know that they put them out. They put them out in black, plain, red. This is just the only one that I've got. But I wouldn't mind, you know, something in a brown with like a leather lanyard on it. That would be cool. These are extremely popular. A lot of people love them, and it's for good reason. Like I said, this, in my opinion, kind of makes the farm and field line So it's an interesting model. I wanted to bring it out. I wanted to talk about it. I felt like the 71 deserved to be the first farm and field on the channel. There's some other great knives from the farm and field line, but I really dig the 71. What are your thoughts? Do you have a 71? Is it one that you chased or one that you wanted before you got one? I know it was a big deal to me to get one leading up to when I finally got my hands on one. So what are your thoughts on it, or is it something you stay away from? I know the prices have gone up, and in fact, I've seen these recently on the secondary. I've seen them for like $150, which is quite a bit. I'm sure that'll change when GEC releases them again. But what are your thoughts on the whole thing? Get down in the comments, and I'll see you guys on the next video.